Welcome to Decades of Horror, the 1980s.
We call them the 8 squadrons of death. First comes the common fly, lays its eggs in the rotten corpse, and thus the cycle begins.
This is episode 168, recorded November 11th, 2020. I am your host, Jeff Mohr, and this podcast is about horror films released between 1980 and 1989. Each episode, my co-hosts Bill Mulligan, Crystal Cleveland, and Chad Hunt and I will tackle another classic or not so classic film from this radical, gory, influential, and gruesome decade. Joining me tonight is Crystal Cleveland, the Living Dead Girl, and co-host of the Gruesome Magazine podcast. Crystal, it's great to have you here, there, wherever you are.
I'm here, and it's great to be here. I wish I was in Switzerland, though. Oh my God, that place looks gorgeous. Is that where this was filmed? I'm really not sure, but it's gorgeous.
Yes.
Yeah,
Swiss Transylvania. Which I don't know. So pretty. Also joining us is Chad Hunt, comic book artist and co-host of Decades of Horror, the classic era, Decades of Horror, the 1970s, and a producer and director for Wreak Havoc Productions. Chad, what's shaking?
Nothing, man. I feel like I'm bugging you guys.
Oh, God.
Yeah. My talent is wasted here.
Yeah.
Quit bugging me.
Someone's wasted.
And last but not least, this Bill Mulligan, writer, director, and special effects guru, co-host of Decades of Horror, the 1970s, and all-around nice guy. How are you, Bill?
I'm glad I'm not in Switzerland or Africa or any place that has monkeys.
Oh, well, yeah.
Monkeys with scalpels.
Yeah, what hands are to Chad, monkeys with razor blades are to me. In my defense, I think my phobia is a more logical one. I think I can defend.
Good to know.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what, Chad? I can pretty much show hands at you anytime I want to, but it's going to be a lot of effort for you to track down a monkey with a razor blade. And by the time
my hand still draws very well, so I can draw a million monkeys with scalpels.
Aha!
Yeah,
there you go.
One in the mail every day, Bill. One in the mail every day.
Jeez.
Well, we have a film to discuss tonight.
We do,
and we
had another one.
We did. We dodged a bullet. What was the first film we picked, Bill?
Okay, so for some reason, and I just have to think, maybe I was dropped on the head as a child. I thought we should do Parasite from 1985, which I have no defense for because I've seen it. 82. Yeah. And I saw it at the theater in 3D, and I remember it wasn't all that good, but I guess I must have really liked the 3D because I'm easy to please. And I watched it again, and oh my God, it's not in 3D anymore. So that's gone, and all that's left is it's terrible. Terrible. I was feeling so bad. It was like, I'm never going to be able to make fun of Chad for all of his crappy choices again. But then...
I was thinking the exact same thing when I was watching it.
Like a lifeline from heaven, Jeff points out it's already been done on the podcast, that for some reason it was done years ago when they had lots of stuff to choose from. They somehow chose that one. So we decided to quickly come up with a substitute.
Maybe somebody will pull my fat out of the fire next time I pick a bad one like that.
No, we're just...
You know how much... I have pages of stuff here for Bill. I was just going to let him have it.
Yeah.
All luckily, Crystal and I did not watch it before.
Hey, do you like science fiction movies? Like science fiction movies that are set in the far-flung future of like 3 years ago, where everything looks exactly the same except they have a toy ray gun? I got a movie for you.
I've seen a bunch of those made in 1950.
They're classics. They are Metropolis compared to Paris.
I do. Yes, they are. Yeah. So for some reason we didn't even check the old episodes to see if it had been done. I think because We thought it was so bad nobody would have done it before. But then we remember Doc had seen it in 3D at, I think it's Splatterfest.
Yeah, Carolina Theater in Raleigh,
Yeah. And they had done it. So we switched on the fly, which is what we do. I think somewhere along here we say we're extremely flexible in our schedule.
I thought you were going to say smart. We're not all that smart.
Instead, we're going to do a film directed by Dario Argento from 1985, Phenomena.
Phenomena.
Phenomena. Okay.
Can't not do it.
Yeah.
Starring Jennifer Connelly, Donald Pleasence, and Daria Nicolodi. A young girl with an amazing ability to communicate with insects is transferred to an exclusive Swiss boarding school where her unusual capability might help solve a string of murders.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine that. Argento. Young Girls School. Okay, let's see.
Oh, boy.
Production company DAC Film Rome. It was distributed in the U.S. by New Line Cinema for the theatrical, and it was dubbed. Release date was January 31st, 1985 in Italy, August 2nd, 1985 in the U.S. The original U.S. version was called Creepers and was cut by about 30 to 35 minutes, as best I can tell.
That's a lot.
Yeah. It is. And we didn't watch that. It was on Amazon, but when you clicked on it, it said no longer available. So, I don't know. And the lengths, these are interesting. And we kind of dug through these. There's 116-minute length, 110-minute international version, and then the 83-minute Creepers cut. And as far as watching them, 116-minute version was on Amazon Prime, and the 110-minute international version is on Shudder. So it's out there, folks. You can see that anywhere. It was filmed in Switzerland and Italy. Filming dates August 1984 to October 1984. Budget estimated at $3.8 million. I have no numbers on the box office, and I doubt there was much box office in the U.S. I'm just guessing.
I'm thinking not, because this was the last Dario Argento movie to really get a decent distribution.
So we have some taglines, some not so good, some pretty decent. Chad, could you read the taglines, pretty please?
Okay. Tagline number 1 from Dario Argento, the Master of Terror, which is on every other VHS box of a Dario Argento movie.
No, I was just going to say that once would have been an accurate description.
Yeah, once.
Yeah.
Until it got to Mother of Tears and forward all
that.
Evil is alive and killing.
Eh.
A new breed of terror.
Oh, God. That could go for, that's every...
Yeah, everything,
Yeah, they're not really narrowing this down. A nightmare, alive!
Okay.
Which is kind of appropriate in that Argento movies do have that kind of waking dream aspect to them, and this one even maybe more so because we have the sleepwalking and everything else. His narrative structure is very dreamlike, which is a nice way of saying it makes no sense whatsoever.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
Tagline number 5. Thursday on Fox when insects attack.
When insects attack.
That actually is... That leads you in the complete wrong direction, because I was so hoping for more of that, but it really wasn't much of that at all.
Yeah.
Right. They don't really attack. They defend, or they're called on, or I don't know.
Well, the whole thing of the poster and everything like that makes it look like she's a fire starter type character that just...
Yeah.
But anyway, Jennifer has a few million close friends. She's going to need them all. That sounds like the new romantic comedy.
Womp, womp, womp. Yeah.
Does Facebook allow that many friends? I thought they stopped it.
Yeah.
5,000?
Facebook friends attack. Okay, last tagline. It will make your skin crawl. What exactly will make your skin crawl?
I guess the maggots.
Yeah, having maggots worm their way all over you will make you, it is pretty maggoty. There's a lot of maggots in this movie.
It is maggoty.
An inordinate amount of maggots, I'd say.
Yeah, more than usual.
Great is I'm eating while we're talking about this. So.
Oh, of course. Are you eating pasta? Because that would be perfect. Or rice?
No, pot stickers, pan-fried dumplings.
How are the noodles, Mike?
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah. Oh, they're fantastic.
Pot stickers. Are they like long chrome poles? No.
Oh boy.
What?
Well, where are you going with that?
Yeah, well,
I don't
the maggots. Yeah, finding them on your towel after you've dried your
hands.
Oh, yeah.
I know, that's so gross. Mm-mm.
That's poor hygiene.
Okay, let's get to first impressions. And this is Bill's pick. Yeah, that definitely violates health standards. Bill, when did you first see this? And I know why you picked it, because I
picked it because
at Parasite.
I picked it because it had
yesterday.
One absolutely wonderful attribute, which is that it was not Parasite. And it was better than Parasite because it had to be. When did I first see this? Was years ago, and I'm thinking it must have been on videotape. I liked the poster. I mean, I was really into Argento, and this would have been, at the time I watched this, I would have said, this is not one of his better movies. But with the fullness of time and the fact that he kept on making movies, this is definitely in the middle to upper tier of his movies. There's almost no filmmaker I know of who's had more of a creative decline than Argento. And this one is an odd duck, where I think he was trying to, break out away from the Italian thing and do some American stuff, and has an American actress, very young, Jennifer Connolly, who's terrible in the movie, but I don't think it's her fault. Watching it now, the flaws definitely outweigh the positive aspects of it. The insect thing really doesn't even need to be there, to the degree that, like you were saying, the poster and all really makes you think this is going to be one of those Willard movies with insects and a cute chick. But that's just a kind of thrown in there. Like it wasn't really necessary for her to have this insect power. It's not explained. It doesn't, I don't know. It's just odd. Now it's got some great stuff. It's got a chimpanzee with a scalpel, which is the damn scariest thing on God's earth. Just the picture, just the one shot of that thing suddenly showing up with its hideous mouth full of rotten teeth, like this is straight from a West Virginia zoo. It's got a scalpel. It's screeching. Its ass is scary. I mean, everything about this damn thing, that is the epitome. Some people's like, I give it 2 thumbs up. Is like my standard is monkeys with a scalpel. Like, how scary was this movie? 5 monkeys with a scalpel. That's a scary ass movie right there.
When did your love of chimpanzees start, Bill?
When I was a kid. I know this is when I was a kid. This is true. There was a thing called Animal Land in not Staten Island, Lake George. Animal Land was this low-rent amusement park across from Storytown, which was the high-rent amusement park. And their big thing was they had lots and lots of animals, and they had no sense on what to do with them. So, long story short, they let me hold a baby chimpanzee, which was really cool. And a baby chimpanzee is basically an iron statue wrapped in fur. Their muscle mass is so dense. Yeah. When they take your hand and push it, it goes wherever they want it to go. If they want it to go off of your body, it will go off your body. They are phenomenally strong. And this was a baby chimpanzee. So whenever I hear stories about these people kept a chimp as a pet, and then when it was 20 years old, it went crazy and ripped their face off. And you're like, yeah, that's what they're going to do. So I
shouldn't laugh.
And then, and knowing that this chimp actually did injure Jennifer Connolly in the movie, you're just watching the whole thing, every scene, every time she pats it on the back, I'm just like flinching. Like, is this where it just went apeshit? and like tore her finger off.
Yeah.
Is this the scene right here? I don't know. But I will say, Monkey's a good actress.
Yeah.
Monkey actually gives a hell of a good performance there. I believed every single thing about it. It's really remarkable how good this monkey was. But in the end, don't mess with chimpanzees.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or severed hands.
Yeah, whatever.
Unless the chimpanzee severs. Well, anyway.
I will.
Crystal, how about you? When was the first time you saw this? And what are your impressions here?
Yesterday was my first time I saw this movie, and oh boy, is it terrible. It's terrible. But like I said, I'm glad that I watched it because I kind of feel I'm kind of happy watching everything from the 80s. It's always so interesting to see how filmmakers have changed. Oh boy, though. The story is discombobulated. It doesn't flow or fit together in any way. There's no twists and turns. There is some crazy stuff that people decide to do. There's some stuff that people would never do. It's just, there's so much unexplained stuff that just kills me. I honestly, if it would have been a better film if we had just focused on Jennifer and her insect relationship instead of adding this dimension of this external killer who has what's the real motivation? I don't know. Other than the fact that her child is different, but it really doesn't explain anything. Nope. And yeah, it's such a strange one. The music is probably the worst part of this, though. I mean, they had Iron Maiden and Motorhead.
What?
I was like, if there ever was a time to have those songs in a movie, it is not this movie. It absolutely tears you out of every scene.
What?
It's so bad. I was like, what? Why are they doing this? Awful.
That was my wife's reaction every time the music went like crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just you want to root for it, but then you oh God, just the most inappropriate moments. It's so funny. It kind of made me laugh. I can't lie. But yeah.
Which is not what they were going for. But
I think this movie would be really great on like Mystery Science Theater 3000. That would be funny. Because I think they would have some really funny jokes. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, I watched the whole thing and I laughed and kind of my jaw dropped a couple times. And I was like, that makes no sense.
You didn't want to slap me the way you would have if you'd had to watch Parasite. So
probably not. It's been a long time since I've seen that.
All right. It's questionable, that's for sure. Chad Hunt, what did you think of Phenomena? And when did you first see this?
I rented this movie, VHS, on the sole fact that it had Iron Maiden songs and Motorhead songs.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Otherwise, I would have never picked this off the shelf. I never would have picked this movie to watch. And you're right. The music is inappropriate. Is put in at inappropriate times. You got these heavy metal songs going on that when they really shouldn't be. So yeah, I do agree with you there, even though that's the reason I rented it in the first place. And I was so happy to see that.
Like you get excited about it, and it's just done in the whole.
Yeah, it was kind of awkward, but I did love during the sleepwalking scenes. There's a song called "Sleepwalking" by Goblin that I absolutely love. That piece of music. Yeah, I rented this movie and I didn't think it was so bad. You know, I mean, I had watched Suspiria and I think one other Argento movie at the time. I love the whole concept of the three mothers, and so I really loved Inferno. I watched Inferno and Suspiria.
Yeah,
but it's like any other Argento movie to me. There's a lot of awesome imagery. There's the prerequisite murders of heads being shoved through glass panes.
Yeah,
in Argento movies.
Yep.
Yeah, and it had some gross moments in it that were really cool back then. You know, see stuff like that. The pool full of maggots and dead bodies and stuff like that. But I remember being sorely disappointed that we didn't see any more bug action than we did.
Yeah,
agreed. Yep.
You know, and they really missed an opportunity to explore that with Donald Pleasence. You had this great guy there, actor, and her, so maybe he could try to figure out what was going on, but he just like took it at face value. Now go find the killer, my little detectives. And you know, and yeah, so I was like, what is this shit? You know, when I was first watched it. So I didn't appreciate it as much then as I think I do now. Like Bill said, after seeing the overall body of work of Argento, I don't look at it as such a negative experience as I once did. But I love the aesthetic of most Italian horror movies. I'm not a fan of Giallo so much, but you know, the whole thing, Fulci. I love Fulci movies. The Goblin did almost every soundtrack to every Italian horror movie back then. I loved Goblin, and the cinematography and just the way they looked and everything was always a real draw to me. And this had that too. So I've come to have an appreciation for it now that maybe I didn't back then. Yeah, and it's not the greatest. It's not the greatest movie, but I still enjoy it. I enjoy watching it. You know, it's not one you know what, I'm going to pull out Phenomenon and watch it today. But you know, I was glad to watch it again for the podcast. So I like the movie. I appreciate it for what it is. I guess.
Right.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too, but basically, you know, there were several times where I had to tell myself, this shot makes no sense, but that's okay because it looks cool. Mm-hmm. And that takes looking beautiful shots trump plot and storyline in Argento movies, I think, a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Even at the beginning when they start off with that scene on the Swiss highway and then they have like an aerial shot that goes up over the trees. Speaking of which, did you notice how I watched the first part this time like 3 times because I kept getting interrupted and I kept starting over and the tree at that bus stop was just blowing like crazy and they had this whistling wind sound and everything. But when you looked at the trees in the background, they weren't moving at all. So that big wind machine, I guess, on that one tree, but it looked cool. You know, they had that tree in the foreground, gives you some perspective, impending something, you know. But I like the look of it. I love Donald Pleasence almost any time. I felt like it sounded to me like he was struggling a bit with the Scottish accent, but maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure I know. It certainly wasn't a thick Scottish accent.
Yeah, I don't think he overdid it.
But he's just, you know, silly sounding lines just sound cool when he's them.
Right.
You know, and Jennifer Connolly, we were talking about this ahead of time. After giving the filming date, she was actually 14 when this was filmed. So 15 when it came out. So she was a youngster. I don't know about the rest of them. I know the first death is that Argento's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fiora. She was about the same age. Says she was born in 1970. She gets her head ripped off.
That shot though, that slow-mo, I was like, oh my gosh, what? So bad.
The shot when the head goes into the waterfall.
Yeah, it's so bad. Sorry. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then this weird one that I could not get in my head what was happening. But as you see him dragging the body off in the reflected water, I kept thinking, what is that? That just is weird. What is that?
That was weird.
It looked pretty.
Yeah, well, it was, you know, reflection and stuff like that there, you know. So, and, you know, they kind of, I don't know what you guys thought, but I thought they tried to give you a bit of a MacGuffin with the chimpanzee whose character is Inga. And this is definitely what this monkey was playing this part.
Yeah,
it really was. I think she knew she was acting.
And it was a red herring. The first time I saw this,
Yeah, obviously it's a monkey killing everybody. Yeah, they're strong.
Scalpel. And then Pleasence is just like, "Where did you get that? You don't play with shark things." I was like, "The monkey has a scalpel."
Yikes!
Well, that's great. Where did you get that? He points outside. Who took it outside? Points at himself. That's like, it was some
cute,
good humor with the monkey. So anyway, this was apparently not one of those monkeys that was in a lot of movies, because this was Tanga's only role. But,
well, listen, when you bite off a co-star's finger, you get a reputation in Hollywood as being difficult, and that's hard.
Well, talk about that. Talk about that, Bill.
Apparently, there was a scene where they said to Jennifer Connolly, if you would just like take the incredibly strong, dangerous monkey by the shoulders and gently turn her around, and the monkey took umbrage to this, as they sometimes do, because who knows what goes through their tiny little slope brain minds. And it attacked
never
her.
happen like that, though. Like the trainer should be the only one.
The
animal.
Listen,
that is so ridiculous.
When someone says to you, "I've got a trained," and then the next word is some dangerous animal that can kill you. I've got a trained bear. I've got a trained alligator. I've got a trained rattlesnake. It's like, don't listen to them. Yeah, the snake, whatever it is, it recognizes its owner as safe and everything else. And you, with your strange smells and weird ways, are just a piece of meat.
It's only killed 3 people.
They apparently reattached her finger, and and I guess she was okay.
So it was the last scene of the film, and so that must have been
it's always
the last scene they shot too, because she earlier in the movie she seemed perfectly relaxed with the monkey. So
doesn't that make you think maybe they knew there was a problem here? It's like, of course it's the last scene in the movie, because if I'm in a movie and the monkey bites any part of my finger off, I'm never going back to that set. So it's the last shot in the movie. But it's okay. She went to the hospital. They reattached the finger, which, I don't know, makes me question the whole story, because when they reattach things, it's like if someone slices off your finger with a Ginsu knife, it's relatively easy to attach because it's a nice clean cut. When a freaking chimpanzee bites your finger off, I don't think that's exactly a clean slice there. And oh my God, poor thing. I feel terrible for her.
Well, I was reading too that it just bit off part of the finger. Maybe,
just probably a tip.
Yeah,
probably
maybe
just the tip.
Maybe just gave her a close trim on the nails. Geez, it bit off her finger. And I know she's thinking, "Oh, this is the worst thing that's ever going to happen."
Bill's the wrong one to be explaining this.
He has the bias
towards the monkey.
Yes,
if she only knew that a few short years later she'd be doing Requiem for a Dream. I'm sure when they got to the last shot in that movie, she was wishing there was a chimpanzee. Okay. So, I like Jennifer Connelly. I thought she was terrible in this movie, but I have a feeling Dario is not exactly an actor's director. She's young. The director doesn't really understand the language. The script makes absolutely no sense. If you think about this movie, if you try to describe this movie, it's like when you try to describe a dream to someone. It's like, oh my God, I had this dream. I was in a girls' boarding school, and I could talk to bugs, and my best friend was this old bald guy who had a chimpanzee, and this is where your friend's eyes glaze over, because your dream is totally uninteresting to anyone who hasn't had the dream.
Yep.
So, I watched it on Amazon, the 116-minute one, and then I watched the 110-minute version on Shudder. And
you watched it twice?
Well, I take that back. I take that back. I didn't watch it on Shudder. I went in and checked a few key scenes because I wanted to see where the cuts were. So I checked a couple of gore scenes, and nothing was cut. But what they cut, if you noticed, this was something that bothered me too. As I'm watching you guys watch the Amazon one? Everybody watch that?
Yeah.
Right.
So I wanted to see the full version, right? Well, there's a lot of weird things that happen. Like, number one, I felt like for Jennifer Connelly's character, there were several places where there was just abnormally long pauses between her lines. I don't know if you guys noticed that or not. just like really long pauses. And then she'd say it, and it didn't really fit the whole, I don't know. And the other thing that happens is there's like 3 or 4 places where they burst into Italian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And all of those scenes are not in the Shudder version. So the information that we had said that most of those cuts were just a few frames at end and beginning of shots. But for instance, the scene where she's on the bus with the fly corpse detector, that spot where the old woman's giving her a hard time for having the window open, and they argue in Italian, and then she just tells her to tough, and so the woman moves. Well, in the version on Shudder, the 110-minute version, that woman never says a word to her. But when she gets off the bus and she's walking away, you see her come over and angrily slide the window shut.
Yeah.
So most of it, I think they just cut out unnecessary dialogue and that Italian stuff, so just like the one where they're arguing about trying to get her to take the pill. And then they argue in Italian for a while, and then she finally says, "Yeah, okay, I'll take the pill." And in the cut version, it says they just argue like once or twice in English, and then she says, "Okay." So
I'm really curious what her argument was, because again, that's one of those things that makes no sense. Some weird, strange woman is insisting you take a pill. You're not going to do that, and then she insists, and you go, "Okay, fine, I'll take the pill." And then you go into the bathroom and shut the door. You're like, why would she think you were going to take the pill?
I know, it's so
yeah, and because you're going to take that pill because you're burning up, you're overheated because this country is strange and all that wind. And this is Swiss Transylvania. So
all of a sudden it became a Jedi mind trick. You're burning up. Yeah. No, I'm not. Yeah, you are. Well, maybe.
Maybe I am. Yeah.
I'll take the pill.
And then I'll throw it right back up.
Yeah. When you go to use the towels, and there's maggots on them. It's like, man, I used the wrong towels again. These are the guest towels.
I wouldn't have needed to stick my finger down my throat like she did.
Yeah.
Just look at the towel. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then she says she hears Donald Pleasence in her head saying, "The only place you find these is around rotting human flesh."
Use the force.
But of course, she loves bugs, so her finding maggots would be like me coming across a box of kittens.
Yeah.
Or me finding a pizza in the bathroom.
Huh?
So I enjoyed it. And I actually thought that, it's typical extremely complicated giallo that they don't really explain very well, but it kind of all fell together at the end. I felt like I sort of figured out what was going on. I didn't understand why it was going on, but I knew what happened.
Of course you figured it out, because Daria Nicolodi explains everything in like a big 5-minute, I'm a Batman supervillain, got to explain everything in case you didn't pick it up.
So anyway, did you guys notice Michael's, I don't know how to say his name, Suave,
yeah.
He was the police detective's assistant.
Oh, okay. He's a good director.
The Church.
Yeah, The Church.
One of my favorite movies, The Church.
Speaking of the inspector, Patrick Balkaw, it's hard to recognize him, at least it was for me, but this guy is, as he aged, became a very often used, I guess, character actor. He's been in a lot of good stuff in terms of, being the cop or being the bad guy. He was in View to a Kill back in the same year.
He was a big-ass spider, one of my favorites.
Yes.
That's not a joke. I love that movie.
And then some crazy stuff, Mega Shark versus Colossus.
They can't all be big-ass spider.
No.
But he's one of those guys that oftentimes plays a foreign bad guy, foreign culprit, mercenary.
He's got that doctor / professor / police inspector face. I mean, he's...
Yep. He's done so many things since 2000 that it just scrolls on and on and on. Mm-hmm. All right. wanted to get those two guys in. So Jennifer Connelly, I guess Bill didn't like her. Chad thought
she's cute as a button, and I don't think it's her fault. And she became a very good actress, so this should not be held against her. Yeah. But if this was the first time I had seen her, I would think this kid does not have a future in the business. She has a visual quality. I can see why he chose her. I can see why Argento would have thought that, this is a good canvas to paint on, and she was able to do that. But as far as being able to make that dialogue work, and I don't know if anyone could have. I don't know if Meryl Streep could have pulled it off. But no.
Yeah, I think half of that was a script problem.
Yeah. Well, and I think part of it was editing too, like how Jeff was talking about the long pauses. Well, a lot of that is editing.
Yeah.
So
and it just wasn't natural. Like the first time she goes into her room and meets her roommate, and they're having this conversation and everything, like they're old friends. And all of a sudden, oh, by the way, my name is so and so. It's like, oh, this is an introduction. This is the first time you've met. That's not how humans would do it, but okay, yeah. It just, I don't know, weird choices.
And here's how my mother left my father.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was a true story. That was Argento's history, I think.
Yeah, that's
that whole story.
Oh, was it? Was it really?
Yeah, I think that's happened to him with his mother.
Which doesn't take away the creepiness of, so did you sleep with him? Oh, we're talking about my dad here. Excuse me while I go hurl into the toilet.
That was so weird. It was like if she knew so much about her father, like she had no idea that she was coming to the school. I mean, come on. Like, I don't know. The whole thing.
She got a new roommate, and they didn't tell her the new roommate's name. They just had to introduce
super awkward.
each other.
Right.
Yeah.
It is, but there was a lot of that in these type of movies.
Yeah.
There's some kind of obsession with that. Did you sleep with him? Like the teen sex comedies of the late 70s, early 80s. It was all about stuff like that. Weird, awkward stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She definitely turned into a good actor. She won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for A Beautiful Mind.
Mm-hmm.
She was in the recent Snowpiercer TV series.
Mm-hmm.
Alita, Battle Angel, Spider-Man, Home. Well, that was a voice, I think.
Yeah.
She's
a fine actress.
She was in the Hulk.
Yes.
Yep.
I knew you
Hulk.
I mean, let us not forget her amazing husband. Come on. Oh my God. Paul Bettany.
Who's she married to?
Paul Bettany.
Oh,
okay.
Jarvis?
Vision.
She's married to Jarvis?
You didn't know that Jennifer Connelly was married to
I did not know that.
No.
Holy
I don't
moly.
be keeping up with Jennifer Connelly's business.
I love her.
Oh.
I love him and her. I think they're both so phenomenal. Yeah. Talented. Sorry. Yeah. I tend to know, like, I know all the freaking tea, none of the good stuff. Y'all know all like.
Yeah. So yeah, she's got a pretty good genre history too of doing things. Dark Water is another one she was in. Requiem for a Dream you mentioned, which is kind of crazy. Mulholland Falls.
And she has a very natural beauty.
Oh yeah,
an intelligent kind of beauty. It doesn't look artificial. Just comes naturally to her. She doesn't appear. It doesn't look like someone who's got to be completely dolled up to bring that across. So I mean, she's got a very appealing look. And even as this young child, you can see. She's 14, but you can see there's something there. Like I said, I can see why Argento thought she would be good in this role, but he didn't give her much.
And I gotta say, for her only being 14, like I said, I would have absolutely said easily 16. I think there's a big jump from 14 to 16 as far as how a teenager acts and carries themselves. She was very mature for her age.
Yeah.
Well, she was in Once Upon a Time in America too, where she played the younger version of the Elizabeth McGovern's character.
But just compare what she was given to what Sissy Spacek was able to do with a similar kind of thing with Carrie, a young girl with weird powers and all. And, I don't know. There's a lot of strange choices that were made here. She's completely okay with this power. It doesn't bother her in the least. I mean, there's no explanation. The other girls think she's weird.
She's in Swiss Transylvania.
She's in Swiss Transylvania.
But what's the deal with the wind blowing her hair when the?
Oh yeah, that was great.
Come on,
because it looked cool.
In Firestarter, I can get it because the air would have something to do with the fire.
There you go. She's heating up the air, and it's rising.
Totally
sure.
With that, yes, that makes sense. But with these, I'm like, no.
It's the beating of 1,000 little wings
that are outside.
Well,
yeah. Well, they really didn't do anything. I mean, I think she's kind of screaming in the boat when all the flies show up, right?
Yes.
But it isn't like she sits there and strains and her eyes bug out and holds her hands up and lightning bolts come out like in the poster and then the insects come.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was another thing. Okay, so the horrible dwarf is about to kill her, and she calls on her insect friend.
The horrible dwarf.
And he's swarming. Flies are swarming around him, and I'm like, so the hell what? So what? So flies, they get in your nose. They get, it's kind of creepy, and you're going to want to take a shower. But they're not going to be able to do anything with their stupid little suction mouths or anything. And these are just flies, for God's sakes. Although I will say this, I loved the effect of the flies swooping down, appearing in the sky and everything. Once I found out how it was done, I was like, oh my God, that was so brilliant. It's coffee grounds poured in water and superimposed. I'm like, oh, I have to use that. One day I got to write a script or something, because that is just so simple and so elegant, and it looks so good. When I heard
you put them in the water, you just shoot it through the water.
Yeah, you just pour them in the water and swirl it around, slow it down, superimpose it, and once you know it, you look at it and say, "Oh yeah, it's obviously coffee grounds." But it worked. That impresses me more than a million CGIs. That's like one of those Mario Bava effect kind of things, which unfortunately Mario wasn't involved with this one. I will say I thought. The thing I love most about Argento is his color palette and everything. This one didn't have the visual oomph. There was kind of like sort of went for a cold blue palette, away from the primary colors. And I don't know, this one seems like it could have benefited from that. But yeah.
Well, and she ends up doing there's the one scene where she's sleepwalking out on the ledge at the school. And then when she walks back, it breaks. She falls through and, has a amazingly, I can sort of get you fall into the nightgown, you fall in the bushes, not a scratch, nothing.
Yeah.
She just pops up outside the bushes standing up. But the scene that really kind of got me, and you tell me that would have been, and maybe it was just muddy water, but the scene in the pit there in the
you know what that was?
You know
what that stuff was?
Was it beans?
It was vermiculite.
Ooh.
Yeah. Which is another one that I'm looking at. It's like, well, damn, that is rotten looking. That is nasty.
It looked so gross.
It just floats on top, and it's got that meaty, rotty look. Vermiculite is perfect. Yeah, every time she would go into him, oh, hold your mouth, close your nose. That's got to be disgusting. I don't care how much you love maggots. This can't be fun. And
it looked like sewage.
Yeah, it did.
And she was just gulping down.
Oh yeah,
mouthfuls of it.
She's gonna need to get her stomach pumped.
Yeah.
So that's another one of those ones, because I'm going at the beginning, and we don't know who does it, but at the beginning we find out later it's Frau Bruckner's son, played by a dwarf who's horribly disfigured, and he's chained to the wall in this house, and he rips the chains out of the wall. Now, was that plaster? Was that wood? What? It kind of looked like it was concrete.
He sort of looked like the kid of the mutant from Funhouse.
Yeah,
the Tobe Hooper film.
Oh, okay.
He didn't like flies either, as far as I know.
Well, that was definitely grotesque when that was revealed. And the thing with what were those steel rods
that they just kept stabbing everyone with?
Yeah, that he and they would snap together they had a quick release ball on them or something. He'd snap them together like they were something. I don't know. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like I was supposed to know what that was, but
probably just a weird weapon made up for the film. Maybe, I don't know, to make it a memorable,
a strange weapon for a deformed dwarf who's chained to the walls to have. It's like your mom. She chained him there, I guess, to keep him away from other people and safe, but left him easy access to dangerous ninja weapons. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It's not a great plan.
Well, the phenomena has a very quick, gruesome start because we start right off with the head thrown into the waterfall.
Yeah.
And then I think the next scene is the two police inspectors with Professor McGregor explaining to him. And then before they spend all this time talking about it, and then they unveil the elephant in the room, the rotting skull covered with maggots and worms and stuff. That's under a cloth. I thought that was pretty good. I like that skull.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah. I actually was kind of hoping they would do like a twist and have it be Donald Pleasence as the murderer, like he could actually walk. He was just teasing the whole time, and he sent her off so that he could go and But
that would have made sense.
That would have made a better story.
Well, it didn't have a twist, but it had 5 different endings.
Yeah.
The little what did Bill call it? The horrible dwarf or whatever.
Horrible dwarf, yeah.
Yeah. What was it? Frau Bruckner. She was an ending. Mr.
Here comes the monkey.
Yeah. Mr. Shapiro. Then the monkey. This movie had more endings than I could count. Everybody got a shot.
Isn't that also like a dream, that your dreams don't really have endings? They just keep on going and then more, and then finally you wake up and that's the last ending. It's like, oh, good, because this is going to be like Lord of the Rings if the alarm clock didn't go off soon. They just kind of keep on going. But yeah, it had a lot of endings, and I don't know. Now listen, I love Daria Nicolodi. I love her. She is one of my favorite horror movie actresses. I think she's grossly been misused and uncredited. She wrote Suspiria. She did a lot of cool things, and it was just. But it's a little unpleasant for me watching some of the later Argento movies, because I honestly, all jokes aside, I really feel like he was kind of taking advantage of their now maybe not so friendly relationship. I guess he's still hiring her and putting her in the movies, but then slicing her face with a chimp razor. Ugh.
Yeah.
Like,
did I miss something? He just did he have that stuff hidden somewhere, the chimp? Because he goes to that refuse container, like a public waste barrel, and digs out this bright, shiny straight razor.
Yeah,
like it's all polished up and shiny.
Just waiting there for him.
Yeah, doesn't really make much.
Well, the young man that played the horrible dwarf, I hate that we've given him that name.
I'm going to get letters from horrible dwarfs, aren't I?
Bill did that. That is all.
Well, he's talking about the makeup. He's talking about the makeup.
Yes, I'm not talking. Listen, I do not want.
Go ahead, explain yourself.
I do not want Peter Dinklage thinking that I have something against him. It's like, this was, and in all seriousness, this is sort of a thing that kind of pops up a lot in these 80s movies and everything, is that deformity is synonymous with evil. And I don't want to get into, me, I'm the last person on earth you describe as politically correct. I think it's kind of crazy when now there's a big controversy about the witches, where
but that was
witches,
bad. Let me tell you something.
Was it bad? I say.
Well, okay, so I have worked with a woman who has that hand thing where, oh God, and she actually was part of the family. Oh God, I hate that they even call it this, like the lobster hand thing.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
And when I saw the witches, my jaw dropped when I saw their hands, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like no,
I got you.
Like immediately, it bothered me. I was like, "Did no one see this?" And immediately think that, because that's literally the first thought I had in my head. I was like,
well,
oh,
now
great
that
job.
you're just great. That makes sense to me because the way I read it was that they were saying that the witches had like cat hands or something. And I'm like, wow, they're kind of reaching here.
You
but
haven't
no,
seen the movie then.
no.
like
So if you're talking about the lobster hand, yeah, that's not an unusual. I mean, it's an unusual, but it's not a super rare condition. So yeah, equating that with the sign of being a witch, yeah, that's a little far.
Yeah, it was really bad. I was like, oh my gosh, I was shocked, honestly, and that's me. But I immediately saw it and went, oh god.
But was that in the original Witches?
In the original Witches, no.
Okay.
They didn't have toes and they had violet eyes and they had no hair. But also when they took their mask and everything off, they looked like witches.
Right.
Do you remember? Like they actually had like full faces and stuff. So yeah, but oof. Yeah.
But it does.
The only other time I saw that was in American Horror Story, the Freaks, Circus Freaks season.
Right.
The one character.
Right, the one character. But a lot of times in these movies, they do, if you have a deformity, it's the sign that you are evil or there's something wrong with you. And which is just kind of lazy thinking. It's kind of medieval thinking. I like it when they turn it on its head and you cast someone like Michael Berryman, and of course he's the bad guy. Just look at him, but then it turns out actually he's the protector or something. So I mean, you can do cool things with that trope. But yeah, we've probably had enough evil albinos and evil dwarfs who are evil because they're dwarfs to last a lifetime. So.
Yeah, we vilify anything that isn't what we expect to see, which is
the average. So anyway, the young man that played her son, and I don't know exactly how to pronounce this, in Davide Murata, is it Davide? Was in his early 20s when this was made, but he's done a few other things. He was in the Passion of the Christ, and he was in Demons 2. There's another Argento crossover with Lamberto Bob. I think Argento co-wrote that.
If they wanted to scare us with a small person, they just should have hired that guy from that zombie movie we watched.
Yes.
Yeah, Burial Ground. I was going to bring that up. And then there's the 26-year-old, 12-year-old boy. Okay, so let's get back. Daria Nicolodi. Bill, you had some opinions there, or maybe Chad. We haven't heard much from Chad. Let's hear what Chad says there.
About Frau Bruckner?
Yeah.
I thought she was very cool until she came to pick up Jennifer at the bank. Then I knew she was behind the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I mean, that just the first time I saw it, I knew somehow this lady is behind everything. But I bought the fact that she seemed very benevolent and like a protector at the beginning, and I bought that. I bought it. But as soon as she stepped into that bank to take Jennifer home, I was like,
yep.
Yeah, she's evil. I didn't know to what extent at that point, but she was pretty evil.
Let's not ignore the fact that Morris happened to get from LA to Switzerland really fast.
Oh, he was going like through black holes.
Yeah, it was the same night. Okay. It had only been so many hours. I was like, whatever.
That car could fold time in half.
Hardest.
Well, not to mention that she's talking to him on the phone and she tells him to send her money. And then she's sitting there in the bank waiting for the money. And he apparently arbitrarily decides that he's going to pick her up at the school where she said, I'm never going to spend another night.
Mm-hmm. And he went to the school.
And he goes to the school. So I'm like, what? Did he keep talking after she hung up, or what the hell was the deal? Yeah.
Meanwhile, the rest of the movie's going on at 78 RPMs, so he can catch up.
Yeah.
Only to get his head lopped off by Frau.
Yeah.
Crystal, what about Daria Nicolodi? What do you think of Dario Nicolodi in here, or in general?
That was the one that got her face slashed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Monkey slashed, as we call it.
I actually feel like she did a good job up until the point where she was getting her face slashed, and that seemed I didn't feel it for that. Like she didn't actually seem like she was in pain at all. Maybe she was afraid of the chimpanzee. Maybe it was after what had happened, and like it could have been. There could have been a lot of issues to this. Maybe it really was swinging. Who knows? But
my guess is that it wasn't the chimpanzee that was slashing her. It was probably Dario Argento wearing monkey hands, and that's actually scarier if you're his ex-wife. So, yeah.
Well, and the last time we saw her, she was getting the crap beat out of her by the police inspector, and didn't appear to have any hope of escaping. So,
and then apparently she did finally do the inspector.
Well, we know she killed him, the inspector, because of her long exposition.
Yes.
Was talking about.
Right.
But she was pretty bloody.
That exposition, that's basically what happens when you're in a Scooby-Doo comic and you pull off the mask. It was Daria Nicolodi all the time. Yeah. And then she has to go into the big long explanation about, blah, blah, blah. Then I killed him and him and him. It's like, who are you talking to? I'm like, well.
I would have got away with it if it wasn't for that monkey.
I was picturing Cloris Leachman in Young Frankenstein going, yes, he is my boyfriend. Only a lot longer.
Yeah. Criminals always have this need to tell everyone how clever they are about all the things they did. And this is why I think I would be an excellent criminal, because I would never do that. Like if I buried someone in the woods somewhere, I would not just be itching to tell somebody how I did it. It's like, I started planning this 3 years in advance, digging a little bit at a time. Didn't want to stay out there long in case somebody would see me. So just like a couple inches here, a couple inches there, finally 6 feet down, bam, do it. Forward thinking. That's it. Okay. So I just gave away exactly how I would do it if I were to do it. But the point is, I wouldn't be doing that. I wouldn't be telling people about that. What is this compulsion? Except obviously it's a movie. And for the 4 people who go to see Dario Argento movies and have to worry about the actual narrative structure, I guess this scene was for them.
Yeah. Well, apparently Argento thinks this is his personal favorite among his works.
Really?
Well, that's in the trivia.
He said it's one of his favorites, yeah.
Well, he's a crazy man. Listen, as long as he doesn't say Dracula. As long as he doesn't say Dracula's his favorite, it's okay. It's your movie, dude. You can, whatever. I think this is middling, maybe above middling, because there's been a lot of pretty low stuff since then. But this is not a patch on Deep Red, or Cat of Nine Tails, or Suspiria, or Inferno, or Tenebrae. I mean, those early ones were great. I think after this movie, there was Opera, and then I would just as soon never watch another one again. And I still hold out hope that he'll come to his senses and do something good, but it's getting kind of unlikely at this point.
Oh.
Sad. In fairness, I haven't seen all of them, but I heard such bad things about, like, Giallo. Mother of Tears made me cry, and not in the good way. Waiting so long to see that series, that semi-trilogy finished, and then this ugly-ass movie. Ugh. So, I don't know.
So apparently the child's condition is a real thing called the Patau syndrome. Causes a severe deformation of the face.
Well, that makes it worse. And then also we get into the whole thing. Why is the kid deformed and evil? Because he's the product of rape. I mean, we're just piling medieval superstition on top of,
Yeah.
There's a lot of problematic aspects to this whole story, which they also did in Freddy Krueger, right? Again, a child of rape is destined to become evil, ugly,
a bad
deformed.
person. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, maybe we should retire that trope at this point. It's outlived its usefulness.
Well, they probably should have foreseen a problem with the chimp, because at one point during the filming, it escaped into the woods, and it took them several hours to find. I'm surprised they even found him.
Yeah.
I think he could have disappeared into the Swiss Transylvania Alps there.
And then people would be disappearing, and they'd wonder why. Yeah. Wow. Oof.
All right.
For real.
Yeah.
I think we pretty much got this covered.
Yeah.
Yep.
Final comments. Anybody? There's. This is available on tons of different Blu-ray editions, so look it up. You can find them almost from whoever you want, Arrow, Synapse, etc. So Final comments, Bill. Any last thing to say about this?
If you're wondering which version to watch, I don't know actually what to tell you, because normally I would say you watch the longest version you can find, but I feel like this is a little padded, and it's not like the padding is giving you a whole lot of characterization or nuance or anything else. This is a lot of sizzle, not a whole lot of steak, so maybe a smaller portion is preferred. But I mean, listen, I enjoy the movie, and I'd watch it every day for the rest of my life rather than watch Parasite once again. So, my bar had dropped so low. But listen, Argento, you're going to get some really cool visuals. You're going to get a couple of creative kills, and some just general overall weirdness. So this is a fun movie. It's enjoyable. You could do worse, and we almost did. So,
yeah, we did. Crystal, any final comments?
I agree. I think everyone should at least watch it once. It's entertaining. It's not a good movie. It is not a good movie. I will repeat that, but it's entertaining, and I think everyone should kind of see these movies at least once. I mean, if you're an 80s fan and you're an Argento fan, that's one to watch. I can't believe he's his favorite. My jaw dropped there, but it's something. Something.
It's something, all right.
It's something.
Chad, how about you?
Well, I kind of agree with Crystal. It's an entertaining movie. It's not one I would go out of my way to watch, but it's sort of standard Argento without. It's got that visual aspect to it. That's the meat of it. There's no. You get a basic introduction to these characters, and that's about all you get. It doesn't really go any deeper than what their names are, and in Jennifer's case, what she can do with her mind. So if you're an Argento fan, you'd probably dig it. And it's, like I said, I haven't seen a lot of his giallo films, but this one compared to some of his later movies, I'm looking at you, Dracula, and Mother of Tears, and I'm looking at you guys. It's a masterpiece. It's. I don't want to say it's a terrible movie. It's not a good movie. It's not a good Argento movie. I can say that, but it's just got enough of that Argento aesthetic about it that I still dig it, and I watch it if it's on TV or something like that.
I think for me, the thing that, just seeing Jennifer Connelly at that age is interesting. I think I love Donald Pleasence, but with Argento, it's usually fun just to watch the shots and the camera work just for themselves. There's that shot with the head going in the waterfall. That's really weird because that camera starts out one place and it goes lots of different directions before it swings back around and you see that head going over the cliff.
Right.
And there's a bunch of those like that in rooms or places where you see he's got it set up that, you're peeking around a corner and suddenly you can see all the way into a room and down a hall or something. It's interesting to me how he stages that stuff and the visual construction of it, I guess, which is, kind of the masterpiece of that is Suspiria, but it's still there.
Yeah.
So I think it's worth seeing. And I would also recommend the 110-minute version. The 5 minutes that are cut had nothing to do with story or gore.
Yeah.
Can I mention one little bit of trivia that you put in here we didn't get to?
Sure.
For the final scene where the child is swarmed with flies, over 2 million eggs were bought, presumably at Fly Eggs R Us. I don't know where you even look to get that.
Yes, I left that out.
And incubated in an oven. As soon as they hatched, actor David Morata was put into the makeup and wardrobe, rushed to the set to attract the newborn flies. His clothes and face were coated in glucose and the flies were released from very fine nets to swarm his body. After completing the scene, the crew opened the studio windows to release all the flies, but they inhabited the neighborhood businesses for weeks.
Sure.
No doubt.
These are the people who make it tough for filmmakers when you like show up at a place like, oh, what a fantastic set. Could we shoot here? And they're like, get out of here. They get their pitchforks ready. The last time we let somebody, there were flies around for weeks. Like,
you making movies about bugs?
Yeah. Get that bleep
Get out of here.
Yeah, no, that's some
is
great
funny.
trivia.
Yeah.
And are you sure you want to say flies wouldn't hurt you after reading that?
Well,
I guess
they get in your eyes and your nose. I mean, they're annoying. They ruin your potato salad. You know, I mean, we live down south. Down south, bugs are a big deal here.
It wouldn't bother me so much, but they just look like they love poop too much.
Yeah.
That's one thing. People don't think about that, but you got to think about that. Where's that fly been right before it?
Listen, if I'm at a picnic and I put my plate down and there's a fly in my potato salad, that gets scooped right in the trash, and people look at me like, you just wasted good potato salad. It's like, what do you think that fly was crawling on before he got to my potato salad? Dead gopher would be like an optimistic point of view. That's
it wasn't your potato salad.
Yeah, exactly. He wasn't just sitting around, oh, I sure hope someone comes up with potato salad because I'm a choosy fly. No, dog feces. That's the most likely alternative. And I'm sorry, once you touch dog feces, you do not touch my potato salad. Am I prissy? For having standards that high? Yeah.
No, I got your back on that one.
Thank you.
That's
all right. We do have a couple of pieces of feedback.
Yay!
One is about episode 162, where Bill and I did the interview with Ed Martinez, special effects guy. And what he did on that episode was he kind of went back to the dead pit and filled in a bunch of stories and gave credit to people that he wanted to be sure to credit. And he told this one story about making this elaborate dummy or something to throw off the water tower. I don't know if you remember that, Bill, or not.
Yeah.
But we had a comment on the YouTube channel, Gruesome Magazine YouTube channel, from Damon Foster. And he says, I'm the zombie mentioned who was thrown off the water tower. Stephen Foster, no relation to me, lifted me and threw me off onto the mattresses as mentioned. What I remember is that the mattresses were stacked up on top of each other, so I bounced up in the air again as though I'd been tossed onto a trampoline. No injuries as I hit the lawn, but I landed dangerously close to some sort of equipment like a tripod or spotlight. Such funny memories. I wish we had camcorders in 1989.
Damon Foster's name sounded familiar to me, and I just looked him up, and I realized he was the creator and editor of Oriental Cinema, a fanzine that I was a big fan of.
Oh, wow.
Started back in the 70s and 80s, and he is the director. He's too modest. He's not just a zombie that got thrown off.
Right.
He's the director of Age of Demons and Shaolin versus Terminator, which is one of the great titles. So thanks for writing in there.
Yeah, you'll have to go in there and reply to him, or I will, or whatever on the YouTube channel. But I thought that was a great story. I got to forward that on to Ed, too. And then this is just my own little favorite one. This was a comment on our double tap of Motel Hell and episode 165, and Daphne Maneri Ernsdorf does a kind of a callback to my first episode on DOH when they did Motel Hell 4 years before. And at some point she says, my favorite part of the older episode is when you say something along the lines of, you guys are really starting to piss me off. That was the best, because no matter what I said, Motel Hell was the shites. And
Poor Motel
finally,
Hell.
So anyway,
you just had to wait until you got us around you to appreciate your taste.
That's right. I do remember that. What I remember too is Thomas asking me over and over again, so what is it about this that you like? Tell me something that will get me to like it. And I kept saying, I can't. You either like it or you don't. Yeah. I'm not going to tell you like it's got some kind of great plot or great effects or great,
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was funny. You thought it was stupid. Anyway, back to tonight. Well, Grue believers, that's it for this episode. But every 2 weeks, we'll be focusing on a specific film released between 1980 and 1989. Next up, we tackle one chosen by Crystal.
Whatever
Crystal,
it may be.
What are we doing?
Oh, we're going to do Pumpkinhead. I guess this is going to be all fresh to those listening. They have no idea what we're going to do until I just said it.
That's right.
Pumpkinhead.
Well,
Pumpkinhead, what a shocking surprise, but a welcome one.
I know Crystal likes this movie. I
love Pumpkinhead. It is one of my very favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost as good as Hellraiser to me.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
So did you buy the new Scream Factory?
I did see they had the steel case. No, I actually was looking at it and I was like, I totally should.
I'm just teasing
hate
you.
that Christmas is coming
Christmas
up.
is coming up.
Yep.
Well,
Then I'm not allowed to buy myself anything.
hey, Jeff, before we go.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about this before everything started, and I keep thinking, we should say something to our listeners out there. But by the time this comes out, maybe everything will be better. Okay, I've given up on that. So, folks, be careful. The COVID thing is still going on. It really does look increasingly like as the cold weather comes, we're seeing spikes. We're seeing hospitals begin to get the fear that we had all along that they get overwhelmed. I don't know where this is going, but so far it ain't looking good. So, just be careful. Christmas, Thanksgiving, do what you got to do, but be smart about it. Want to keep everybody that we have
safe.
And we've already lost so many people, and I'd hate to see us, you keep thinking it can't get any worse than this. And of course it can. Of course it can. So please, just everyone.
Yes, it can. And don't just take it for granted. Be careful.
And don't count on a vaccine coming out tomorrow. Don't count on a politician swooping in and saving us. Superman is not real. This is something you can only really protect yourself and your family as best you can. Don't be crazy about it. Just, look at the facts, do what's smart, do what, will make sense. And we'll hopefully get through this and emerge wiser for the next time it happens, because it will happen again.
Yeah, keep all your masks.
Yeah, hang on to them.
Oh, yeah. And wash them.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, God,
Yeah.
gross. Yeah, I hope
Another thing I read recently.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and, give us some comments. We love your comments. Love, hate. We should have said this.
You don't have to be a zombie that was thrown off a water tower. We're willing to listen to civilians and regular plain folk too.
That's right. So I think you know all the places, but send an email to feedback@gruesomemagazine.com. You can make a comment on the Gruesome Magazine YouTube channel, or go to the Gruesome Magazine's HNR and DOH podcast Facebook group. Catch us again here in 2 weeks for another great horror movie of the 1980s, as only decades of horror can do it. Say good night, guys.
Good night, guys.
Good night, guys.
Have a good one.